Welcome to another episode of Earth Magic Tree Keeper podcast. Honor the tree, the earth and tree mysteries. Take a moment with me to remember and feel your connection with the grandmothers, the ancient trees, and Mother Earth's love. Let us attune to the spirits of the trees, the fairies and elementals, the ancestors and ancient ones. Be inspired by intimate stories of spiritual earth initiation, tree spirit medicine, magical journeys, special guests, and energetic light weaving of co-creative, intuitive relationships with the seen and unseen realms of nature. I am your host, Camilla Blossom. For over 35 years, I have been walking a magical fairy shamanism path to awaken and embody the consciousness of Mother Earth. I'm a spiritual mentor and guide, a land alchemist, medicine woman, soul midwife, and author of Sacred Spirits of Gaia, co-creating a new earth with the fairies, elementals, ancestors, and spirits of land. This podcast is supported by my Patreon community, the Temple of Earth Magic. Thank you, patrons. And for bonus content, you can join my Patreon community and learn about that at my website, camillablossom.com. So today I'm super excited to welcome Amba Aliana'Hi. I don't know if I said that right. Maybe you should say it.
Hi, everybody. I am Amba Aliana'Hi.
Aliana'Hi.
Aliana'Hi. I'm so happy
Aliana'Hi.
to be here with you today, Camilla. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I'm very excited because I got to know Amba at the Fairy and Human Relations Congress, and we got to share our work with each other, go to each other's presentations, journey together. And we have so many beautiful parallels, yet we're so very different in our expression. So I just felt like I wanted to share her with all of you, learn more about her journey, this amazing work that you've been doing, Amba, for the earth, for the trees, for all of creation, and such a dedicated earth server. And so I'm going to share more about her here, her bio, and then we'll get into some conversations. And I was going to call this like awakening the planetary tree grid work, but I realized there's a lot more we need to talk about. So I think we'll do the title later, but we'll be getting into working with the trees, with the earth, with the cosmic ancestors, with the grandmothers. I think there's a lot of conversation for us to have. And not only like what you've been up to and moving through, but really what is up now. I think that's a really great one for all of us going through so much shifting and changing on the planet, that we can talk to each other and find out like how you're doing, what you're up to, what you're needing, and sharing that kind of those cycles, those rhythms that are really important to tune back into. So Amba is a daughter of the earth and stars, remembering, reclaiming, and embodying the wild ways of the divine feminine and reviving the ancestral wisdom of her ancient mother line. She has shared her medicine with the world for the past 18 years through shamanic healing ways. Amba is a weaver of song, story, and poetry, a plant spirit healer, flower essence practitioner, and an earth guardian who lives in co-creation with the spirits of nature and offers gifts of healing and harmonization to all of life. Over the past 2 years, she's been working in a co-creative relationship with the ancient trees to awaken the planetary tree grid across the planet. She's been a mother tending to her online mystery school called the Harmonic Garden and working at healing and wellness centers across the US, currently she's deepening into the wisdom of the land, slowing down, and returning back to the ancient ancestral ways of her Celtic mother line. Welcome, Amba. Thank you so
Thank
much for joining me.
Mm,
Us.
beautiful. Thank you. So happy to be here.
Yeah, so I've always been wanting to learn more about like you how you got into this work, more of that personal journey for you. So maybe we can start just sharing some things about your trajectory, your path in life, and how that kind of opened, if you like.
Yeah, sure. It's always a funny question because um, I think the journey of life is just ever changing and unfolding. And the the further I get away from my story, the broader perspective I have of the actual journey. So it seems like when this question comes up, it I have a kind of like a broader perspective of where I am now and what my journey has um, led me to than I did before. So that's why I have a little giggle because it's always it's like, how's it going to come out now? In this moment. Um, so yeah, I think that nature has really been, Mother Earth specifically has been really connected deep to my soul for, all of my incarnations. I feel like this earth continues to call me back. Um, and for a long time, I would say I'm a daughter from the stars, but the deeper that I open, I realize that I'm also um, a daughter of this earth. I'm um, deeply interwoven into the tapestry of this life and since the beginnings of the earth's creation. So I was born in a beautiful place in the middle of Kansas called Medicine Lodge, Kansas. And it is ancient land where the indigenous peoples of the plains, had their medicine tents, their medicine lodges, their huts where they would work with the land. And being born into this sacred land, there was already a tapestry of spirit language and spirit song and deep earth medicine woven into that space. And so I like to say, even though I'm not, born into indigenous blood in this lifetime, but that indigenous memory brought me back to where I had been before. And so as a child, I was really just really in tune with those ancient songs and the ancient medicine that had been woven into those lands before. And it just kept humming in my soul throughout, as I grew as a child and into my adulthood. And that kind of led me into my place of exploration with the spirits of nature. And I would say that it actually probably started with the crystals, which is quite fascinating. On the lands in Medicine Lodge, Kansas, the rivers there and the lands were filled with mica and selenite, gypsum. It's actually called the Gypsum Hills, and obsidian. And so as a child, I would find these crystals and these ancient arrowheads and would just be fascinated about them. And that crystal wisdom started really speaking to me more so in my teenage years. And it's funny because I haven't really made this connection until this conversation right now about the crystals. But I remember as a teenager, I just knew that these crystals were so special. And I found, I think one of the crystal books in a library in Boulder, Colorado. I transitioned out of Kansas to Colorado in my teenage years. And once I found that spiritual information about the crystals, it seemed like everything started to make sense. I started wanting to have the crystals on my body and help have them close to me because I was yearning for this remembrance. I was yearning for this connection to the land and to the spirits. And reading that book, there's, you know, if you look at some of the crystal books, they're filled with so much wisdom about the crystals. And I would say that right now, I'm remembering that they were probably my gateway in to awakening to reconnection and remembrance of the land. And then my journey took me into studying massage school in Boulder, Colorado. And that's kind of where my deeper remembrance started happening, with my psychic perceptions and the eyes of my hands starting to open to be able to really work in the healing arts and the healing modalities. And after massage school, I went further into my initiation and I found myself in Hawaii working with a kahuna. And that was definitely the place where the rest of my opening, I wouldn't say the rest, but the beginnings, the greater beginnings started to unfold. So working with a kahuna, remembering my lifetimes, you know, as a Hawaiian in the lands of the Big Island and Maui, and um, remembering past lifetimes as indigenous, you know, medicine women and men throughout many different cultures started taking place at that time. And that was in my early 20s. And from there, my path just continued to unfold. I was really asked to commit to my spiritual path after I was in a near-death experience in the mountains of Colorado. I was in an avalanche in my early 20s. It was pretty magical. I got saved by the crow and the raven. And after that point, my life was never the same. And I really had to commit. I really had to surrender. And it's kind of been like that over and over. It's like I go through these incredible, immense amounts of initiations where I'm taken to really, really deep, deep places within the earth to learn the medicine of the earth, to learn the ancient ways of the indigenous peoples, to learn the medicine of the plants, to commune with nature, to commune with the trees, to heal my own self, and then to bring that healing forward. And these initiations have been going on really since, I would say, my early 20s and the near-death experience. I have found myself learning from indigenous elders from across the planet, working with the grandmothers. And actually, there's a big grandmother gathering going on right now in New Mexico. So sending the grandmothers all of our love. And working with the star nations of the Lakota elders. My chief golden light eagle is one of the main spirit guides who I have, who was in the physical. He's not in the physical anymore, but he was a dear and wonderful teacher who helped me learn the earth ways of healing the planetary grid and working with sacred altars and bundles to bring healing to the spirits of nature. And that's really, I think, all I want to share about my personal journey. It really is just a path that has to be walked each day. And the initiations, you know, I think that they're over, but they seem to just continue. And I'm really enjoying where I'm at right now, because right now it feels like I'm in an integration state where a lot of the wisdom and the communications that I've received from the earth and the trees and the stars is in this deep, deep integration. And again, it feels like an initiation of integration, slowing down. And like deeper slow than I've gone before. So yeah, just taking one step at a time in this place that feels, it really feels like a kind of like in a threshold. There's a new beginning, there's also an ending, and we're right kind of in
Mhm.
the veil of what is what has been and what is to come. And um so yeah, there's an in-between space that I'm in right now.
Yeah, thank you for that. And that makes more sense of your kind of, yeah, to hear more of your journey. Also, I have met your teacher, been to Star Knowledge before, so I love that connection too. We have a lot of overlapping connections, so that makes sense. But yeah, it's interesting that path, being on a, of course, very different, but also that shamanic type path of having all these different initiation, having this experience. And I love that you remembered about, or you were reminded about that crystal connection. Because there is some interesting things I've noticed about, like, oh my God, all of a sudden this memory from childhood or from being a teenager or whatever. And it's like, oh my God, that thing that happened then, that's totally related to what I'm doing now and who I am. And it was almost like this foreshadowing, right? Or a reminder of like the importance of those. So yeah, I think for those on the path or beginning the path, it really is a process of surrender, isn't it? Where you're just going through initiation after initiation and opening more and softening more and learning and growing. So I think it's a path more and more people are opening to at this time.
Absolutely. Yeah, what's so fascinating about the initiations is, for me personally, um, I feel like my spirit guides have been guiding me back to my own motherline, um, more than anything. And I think because there has been so much trauma in my physical mother line, over the past 1,000 years, um, and in my family line, that for me, my entry into opening up, it had to be with other cultures. It had to be with, the Mayan elders and the Shipibo elders, and it had to be with the Hawaiian elders, because their cultures are so rich in their medicine and their teachings. And it took me through a journey of finding my past lives, understanding who I had been in past lives, in order to get clear enough within my own self that I could heal my trauma in this lifetime, then to be able to find my own lineage. So I do want to say that is, I have worked with many different, um, indigenous elders throughout out the planet, and I honor and love and respect their teachings. But at the same time, I felt for a long time that I was like this lost child because I hadn't found my own lineage. And where I'm at right now, hallelujah, is I am
Mhm.
reconnecting with my own mother line. And it took a lot of work to be able to get to that place. It took a lot of remembrance of who I'd been in other lifetimes to actually come embodied enough into this lifetime to reconnect with my mother line. So um, I think that's where the initiations lead us back to, is really back to
Yeah.
our own ancient, knowing with inside of our own
Yeah.
template.
I love that because I do a lot of that ancestor work too with myself and with different teachings I've had and other people. Yeah, it's like we're coming more home um to ourselves. But I think a lot of us, especially those of us who are migrants into this country, which is most of us, right? We've come from these our own indigenous lineages, right? I'm Celtic and um, Ashkenazi and Germanic. It's like we had to flee those places, right? And so, of course, there's all this lineage. And I even had this experience. I know we're going to talk about trees with you or together. this German kind of witch ancestor appearing who lived in northern Germany and was like guardian of some of the really ancient trees from the past. And so I realized that there is such a huge healing and uncovering and allowing through the female lineages, right? Our mother lines, that is needed, and to keep, yeah, bringing them forward, bringing those secrets, bringing what was repressed, what was not allowed, what was persecuted. I know that's a huge thing up right now too, is clearing those kind of lifetimes, kind of the stories like we were talking about, you said in the beginning, like all these stories that really we need to bring healing and resolution so they don't stay with us, or they just find that peace. But I love that you're sharing that, that returning to your mother line.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you're so correct, but that's what's up right now, is this unveiling of what has been suppressed and hidden and within our ancestry. And it's a lot of deep healing work to be able to reconnect with our mother lines, because a lot of it was, you know, pushed under deep down, and not spoken of for so long, and created a lot of pain and disconnection. So it's really, really beautiful to be able to reclaim the wisdom of our actual blood ancestors again, and reclaim that we are indigenous to this earth too, and our ancestors, um, wisdom and knowledge, they have a lot to bring forth. So yeah, it's such a gift.
Yeah, it is. And it even, like, I know I want to talk to you about trees because you've been doing a lot of that deep work, but even to like kind of blend that too, like I realized for me, I've been working with trees for a long time, but there's a desire to go deeper into that work. And I have done some work with Amba, coming to some of her oak medicine tree journeys, and the one with all 12 trees. It was super powerful and kind of helped me see the path that the trees are asking me to go on. But I realized a lot of those journeys that we're all opening to, sort of in this in between time, kind of in the void, so to speak, that a lot of things are ending and closing in all our lives. And we're in this space of creation and finding out, tapping into these gifts and who we are in a deeper way so that we can open more to the great mystery. But like about the trees, that there was ways that my ancestors, like this Germanic one I'm talking about, there's ways that because there was trauma and things that happened and suppression, that all this was hidden, that there is some things to unwind for me to really do the work. And so you were kind of asking, how's my tree work doing? And so just to share, like, there's definitely visions coming in about the tree of life and different trees I'm working with, which are like Pacific Northwest trees and Western trees. So there's sort of a body of trees that want to play and want to work together and work with people and bring that forward. But I realized there is these kind of ancestral, like there's some still energies, like, is it safe to work with trees, or can I open more? So I realized it's sort of a progression and a process. So yeah, I'd love to hear more thoughts on either the tree work or kind of how we open to those next places that are
Mm.
calling, right? Or recognize there's things that might be a little like challenging to move through the old stories.
Oh, how beautiful. Yeah, I think that it's such, um the trees are, how I see them, I'll say, is that um they're all part of our ancient tree. So they are, they're holding a melody and a tapestry and a medicine that is linked into our ancient tree, meaning our DNA and our connection to this earth. And so tree medicine is really, really profound at healing different aspects of our consciousness, and also helping us to reconnect and to remember different pieces of our soul and our connection to this earth that we might have forgotten. So I think it's so wonderful that they're coming into your work and they're showing up, and they're wanting to play and teach and share their wisdom, because I think that they absolutely um, are sentinels in the garden of creation. And yeah, it's time. They're really reaching out to us at this time to reconnect. Um, as far as the what you shared around the trauma, around our ancestors connected to the trees, and some of the ancient spirits that are linked into those, I think there is a lot of healing that on lands connected into our ancestors, that can take place in the tree work as well. And what I have found specifically with like my work with the planetary tree grid, which is in the planetary tree grid, what I was called to do in co-creation with the grandfather ginkgo tree was to travel to these different ancient trees that were at least 1,000 years old on the planet, and with a group of tree hearts, and buy locally through our consciousness, astral travel, enter in and commune with the spirit of each of those ancient trees. And when we were working with each of the trees, so we've been doing this work for the past 2 years, so we've worked almost with 24 trees, and I call it the temples of the trees, because when we enter into, say, for instance, the redwood tree, what happens is when we're in communion with the overarching spirit of that tree, we start to understand that the tree is a temple of light itself. It is a realm of consciousness. And if we commune in that way, what happens is it opens up um, this realm within the garden of life that is holding a vibrational melody that then opens back up into our ancient tree. And um, their melodies go down into the roots, and they start to communicate with all the other roots of the ancient tree grid around the planet. So it's like these temples are cross communicating information. They're communicating information about the environment. They're communicating vibrational frequencies, their specific medicine, and they're tuning the earth, which is connected into our tree, into the organic harmonies of life on this planet. And so with the planetary tree grid and the work that we did, we were opening up these temples, and through opening them up, it's what was happening was incredible, because it was like massive amounts of healing would take place within the tree grid, which is also connected to the human tree. So it seemed to be that as we were opening up these temples, um, it allowed reconnections and healing and ancient secrets to be cleared, healed, and also ancient wisdom of our ancestors to come back online. And what I mean back online is, I mean back into the awareness of human consciousness, back into the tree, the neurological system of our human body. And what we found was within some of the trees, there would be like these trauma spots. There would be trauma that tree had experienced over its 1,000 years or 2,000 years, even 5,000 years, that would be linked into the human story, that then we would have to go in and clear out of the tree itself, which is the planetary tree, the tree of life itself. Um, and it's fascinating because what I have found is only the work can only be done when it's ready, right? Like
Yeah.
the temple's open, the energy gets cleared, and then it has to settle within consciousness. And so these ancient memories of our ancestors, these ancient traumas of our ancestors, they can only be revealed when the moment is right. Um, so the deeper we go, like layer by layer, step by step, moment by moment, temple by temple, more starts to come out of the shadows and into the light. More starts to be revealed what is not in harmony, and then we refine it and we bring in the medicine to heal it. And it's just so multi-layered. There's just so much of this unraveling that it can't just happen all at once. There has to be, you know, an expansion of time for it to all unravel and for the consciousness to integrate all of this new wisdom and light and reharmonization that is taking place. Um, and still, the ancestors are like, "We're ready, we're ready, we're ready."
I know. I think there's a confusion with us humans between like human timelines and then spirit, because like, do it now. Like the trees, like when I did that work with you, and then the Pacific or the yew tree came in and was like, Camilla, you need to write a book about the trees. You need to do this tree work. And it's like, okay. And then I get excited and it's like, this is like the rest of my life. This isn't just like next year or something, right? It's like honor that. But yeah, those were very powerful. The ones I did with you were very powerful, profound, and a reminder too, like you say, um, how much the trees can heal us. I think there's like this huge need for us to be trusting and recognizing how powerful that healing can be. Um, but also, I really appreciate how you like you took that journey on and said yes to the grandfather ginkgo, and that um you open these gateways for all of us, right? Because you're giving all of us more access to this tree magic, to this tree temples, to that energy, and to how that informs a grid and for the whole earth. So I think to recognize and just share this for everyone, like how powerful one person can be when, right, when you listen. And I know you're in the one and you're working with a group, but just that kind of yeah, the power that is held in working with spirit that way, and what that can open. So really appreciate that work you've been doing. And it sounds like you were saying that you just completed that, so you're really in that, the initiation of integration, you're calling it. Which is so important right now, right? We're in this process to let that. And I think maybe it's partly, for my tree journey, like, oh, I have to wait for that to be like settling and things to happen, and then new things can open, right? Like we're also connected. There's sort of like you say, the timing and the flow and we can't push anything. We can't like do it before it's time. And we can't show up for for ourselves in certain ways until it's time,
Yeah.
right? Like it's that sort of that idea. I think now, the now moment, like people think all about linear time, but it's more than that. It's like where everything lines up, right? Where you know that yes, this is what you're meant to do now, and this is what it looks like, and this is what I'm called for and to do and to offer. So it's really a beautiful, um, all you have been surrendering to and offering. So I want to thank you for that beautiful work.
Thank you. It has been such a joy meeting and communing with these ancient beings across the planet, and so fascinating to meet and have their perspective of wisdom on what is playing out on this planet right now. I definitely, so the first year we worked with 12 trees, and then the next year, well, this year, 2024, we worked with the dragon trees. And that's what we've been doing this year, is connecting with the dragon trees, which is a whole nother thing besides the planetary tree grid. It is more templates of original first creation of this earth that were hidden within trees, and the dragons had guarded these templates and basically birthed them as dragon eggs. And it was told to me by this ancient dragon of the ocean called Rajin, who lives between Japan and Hawaii, that this would be the year that the dragon templates would start to open within the planetary tree grid of the planet. And so that's really what we've been doing this year, is working with awakening these original templates. And I mean, it's been just wild. Like birthing templates of innocence, bringing back the original innocence to the cherry tree, birthing the divine union templates to the ohia tree. We worked with the banyan tree in Lahaina and brought forth some new templates for the sacred children that are coming into the planet. And we also birthed the templates from 12D Armatenna, which is in the constellation of Lyra. We connected with the galactic lions and lyrians from the original tree of life in the stargate of Lyra, and we brought in a template through the baobab tree called the dragon feline leadership templates. So I do want to mention that, because there was a group of 13 of us who brought forth these 24 codes from 12D Armatenna, which is future Earth. So we brought them in through the baobab tree, and we birthed them in through the temple of the baobab with the white lions. And that happened on 8/8. And these leadership templates that are coming in from the future Earth onto our planet now are being anchored in. And what that looks like is leadership in co-creation with Mother Gaia, and the law of one and unity. And I think that's really, really what is also we're being shown within the outer world, is the old templates of leadership are dissolving and new templates of leadership are coming in. And after I birthed, we as a collective, but myself bringing them forth, Spirit was like, okay, your dragon template work is complete for this year. And that's where we've come to a rest, because now these dragon trees, these original templates that we opened, they need to settle into the collective. We've had so many solar flares, like it's just continuous, right? Off the charts. Like Spirit is just bringing forth new light and new knowledge and new wisdom and new information. And it's not even new. It's almost like it's opening up ancient pathways to our original self and source and connection with the oneness of Gaia. And it's really asking us to settle right now. So yeah, that has been the dragon work. And now I'm in a place of really just letting these templates settle and do their thing.
Well, yeah, the solar flares can make you like very tired and sleepy. Sometimes it's, I've noticed, yeah, doing a little bit each day sometimes, but not the kind of intense creation energy, more resting time. Yeah, it's so interesting to hear more about that. I'd love to talk more about that dragon energy and the dragon egg. I think I mentioned to you, I just last month went down to visit the giant sequoia in California. That was amazing. And I also realized that like when I was 5, I lived in LA with my family, and we had gone up there. And when I went into that forest, there's a specific tree that asked me to come visit. And then I realized, I think this is a tree that I met when I was 5. So it felt like this beautiful um, returning again, 60 years later to this tree that I knew from the past and connecting with it. But when I first got there, I was kind of opening and honoring the spirits of the land and the trees and kind of settling into my campsite. Um, and then seeing a grandmother come forward and give me a golden dragon egg. And so it just made me think of some of the way that you've been working with the dragon, with the eggs, and maybe for people who don't. I think there's a lot of need. Even in my patron community, we were working with trees and dragons, and we do a lot of that. Like, what is the connection with the dragons and the trees and the dragon eggs? Like, more about, if you could share that.
What a beautiful gift that you received in the sequoia forest. Wow, how beautiful. Um, I love knowing that. Um, yeah. So for my connection with the dragons, I can only speak of myself and what I've received personally about the dragons, but from my understanding is that the dragons are like the primal life force of nature, and they are like the divine intelligence that keeps the geometracy, the environment alive. It is like the original intelligence behind Gaia. Um, and so these dragon eggs they're like templates, baby dragons that hold original essences of Gaia that have been either shut off or that are coming back online or being brought into new form on this planet for Gaia's evolutionary cycle through time and space. So Gaia is in, a massive evolutionary cycle right now. And actually, the humans are very young. We are a very young species. And Gaia has been a kind of like a garden where lots of things could be tested and tried within the creation within the universe. So many different types of projects have been upon this planet because Mother Gaia was a mother of creation who allowed different things to play out. And the dragons, they were a part of that creation force. They bring in that creative life force energy and they hold the original light, the original memory of this planet. And what I know about them and how they're related to the specific forest is that they live inside of the forest. They live inside of these temples. So when I speak about the trees is, I'm not speaking of like just their physical
Yeah.
essence. I'm speaking of their multidimensional magical essence. And so they are the homes of the dragons. They are where the dragons specifically live. And because dragons are eternal beings, they they will manifest in different vibrational rates, and a lot of them are manifested into the trees, the old ancient trees. And we could say, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I live here at Willow Creek. I have a water dragon who is in the waterfall next to me, actually like only like 50 feet from where we're sitting is this incredible being. It's a water dragon. Her name is Celio. And this place, I do not, own this land. I am just a visitor here on this land, taking care of this land. I'm just a steward, and meaning I'm renting the house. And I asked the water dragon, I said, what's going to happen when I leave, when I can't live here anymore? Like what if there's people here who don't know that you're here, and they like, they bring trash, and um they poison your waters? Like, what what do you mean? I was really heartbroken when I was thinking about moving. And um she said, we're multidimensional beings. So even if someone comes and lives here for 50 years and they don't know that we live here, we still live here. This is our space. We are um, guardians. We are eternal beings that inhabit this land. And um, so the dragons, they connect in the physical reality to the trees, because the trees can live a long expanse of life in the physical reality, and they tend to bring forth new essences of creation, their dragon eggs, through the temples of the trees. Because the trees have the bandwidth of consciousness and vibrational frequency to hold a massive dragon egg, which is like a template. It's like a
Mhm.
vibration of Gaia that is now ready to begin to spin itself into Gaia's environment. Um, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting, these kind of teachings. I know that I love hearing your explanation. That was really beautiful and helpful. But also, like, I know that a lot of the teaching we do, and people were maybe watching this, a lot of it's sort of this energetic transmission of some of the words too, like, oh, okay, yeah. Because I remember trying when way back trying to learn, like, what is the crystalline grid? And I just kept trying to do it, with my mind. And then
Mhm.
as soon like, you know what? I can't figure this out. Like, don't even try. And so I learned from that, like, oh, I'm having experiences with the grid. I'm tuning into it. I connect. I trust that my energetic experience is how I will know it and understand it. So I love the explanation, and also for us to know, like, yeah, it can sink in. But we kind of have to have our own experience, don't we, in order to really truly understand something, I believe. But hearing that kind of helped sort of open some of the doors and ideas and like make connections that are deeper. But it also reminded me, I was journeying with the origins of trees,
Mm.
and they were taking me back to a planet that they come from, or some of them. And it was this beautiful place. And it just reminded me of what you said, because I had a strong message from the tree that were like, we don't come alone. We're not like, it's important for us, for them to be on the planet, kind of like you're talking about. They're like holding the grid of the planet, and keeping everything going and alive. And they're a very strong purpose here, right? As part of being, as part of Earth. And but they were saying, like, we don't come alone. Like, we have a whole host of, like, I met the fairy queens, and I have a, like you, a real connection with all the elementals and the fairies and Elvin and all those, and the dragons beings. It's like, well, we don't come alone. Like, we have our whole community that comes together. So it was just that great reminder, like, and what you're saying, like, they live in the trees, of course. Like, the trees are not just alone by themselves without their entourage, or whatever you want to call it, right? Their connections. And so they always have like this teeming life of these beings. And it feels like part of that is the dragons.
Mhm. Yeah, it definitely has to come from the heart resonance to be able to feel that we're living in a multidimensional earth with many different kingdoms that live here on this earth, but they're also linked into the stars. Like we come from a planet that is filled with star dust and seeds from all over the universe. And what we perceive in the physical reality is really very, very, very small, compared to the vast amount of intelligence that is living within the forest and within the universe. And it, yeah, it's a thing that we have to continually, as human, like un open, clear the veils, and use our heart to connect back in to
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah. Right. Not use the mind, but allow ourselves to be open to the experiences and yeah, feel them. And it's interesting too, because in the last few months, every time I hang out with a tree, they're always saying cosmic, the cosmos. Like they're always saying that word to me.
Oh,
And so it's so cute. I think it is this kind of shift that I've been talking about and sharing too. Like you've been mentioning the multidimensionality. Like we're really opening up to all the different levels of our beings and recognizing that everything here and also the earth itself is not just going to stay in this state of 3D. Like she's evolving and growing and in all different dimensions. And even years ago the fairy realms came in and they're like, some people just think we're in this fixed dimension and that's where fairies live, but they were saying they're multidimensional and live in all the dimensions. So in that case, like we can access all these beings and trees and such. And that's, I think, the work we're doing, right? We work in the physical in some ways, but when we're doing that, we're always working in all the different or
mhm.
specific places we're going to work with them. And I think a lot of people are opening more to recognize like, oh, that's how we're connecting with trees. It's not like trying to connect with them in a way we communicate with each other in the 3D human world, right? So yeah, it's awesome to open up all this discussion.
Absolutely. And with that, I do want to say that for me specifically, I'm experiencing, and within the collective, that as we open and expand into our multidimensional nature, it's also really important for us to be incredibly anchored in to our earth, because the earth is a star herself, and we are here on this earth right now. And so I know for myself, for a lot of my, like when I started opening up to expand into the star nations, for a long time I was like, I don't want to be on this earth. I want to go home to my star nation.
Mhm.
And the message that I've really been getting, you know, through bringing in the New Earth templates, I also worked with the seven sisters of the Pleiades this summer, and brought forth a whole set of energetics from the seven sisters. And what I got was through that right now it is important for us to be embodied as humans. We are multidimensional star beings. It's important for us to understand that. But we also need to be right here, embodied as humans, anchored in multidimensionally into our multidimensional earth. And I think that is where the settling and the integration is being formed right now, is like this huge ascension wave, you know, since 2012 flushed through the earth, and it opened us all up, and all the star energy started opening in our Akash, and we started remembering. And it almost is like we become disconnected from our planet, but we're here and we have to reconnect into Gaia. And so I think in the ascension, it is equally important for the descending. It's equally important for us to go back in, and because ultimately they're one. They're one and the same. And it can really create separation within us if we just go up and to the star nations. And the more that I understand what is actually important, especially for, I think for me, is that I'm a star being, but I'm also an earth being. And right here, I am an earth being and I need to embrace this ancient earth and its wisdom and the ancestors that hold ancient practices and ways of remembrance and how to weave ourselves back into the original earth, not the distorted matrices, but it's not like we're just, all right, let's clear the distorted matrix and get out of here. You know, it's more like, okay, we're clearing the distorted matrices and we're weaving ourselves back in to the remembrance of our sacred earth. Like, it's so beautiful to remember how incredibly special our earth is, and that actually our earth is a giant star in the universe. And so we have a lot to learn from her, and she's really wanting us and calling us to reconnect to her, to bring our starlight knowledge here, but to also deeply reconnect and anchor in to her womb. So
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That is so key right now. I'm feeling that too, and been sharing kind of that message, like anchored embodiment. It's kind of like if you're really going through a spiritual awakening or moving in the spiritual cosmic realms, which, yay, are wonderful, like you have to bring it in. Yeah, you have to ground that in. So the trees can really help teach us to use our roots to be a grounded, active in our communities, physical, enjoy our bodies in order to, yeah, be here. Otherwise, it's right. It's almost like you could be on the other behind the veils and or on the other side of the veils and just do all this, but we're here on this earth star. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons why my work online has kind of slowed down a little bit purposely, because um, the physical communities are really calling me to uh,
Mm-hmm.
be more present in my physical reality and to shift from being online and doing online planetary tree work to doing actual physical ceremonies with the tree in the physical reality, which feels really good.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful transition. Well, maybe you could share how people could reach you or some final, if there's any final thoughts. Feels like we've had a really lovely discussion about a lot of things, but we could check in and see anything else wants to come through. Yeah, I think, well, I'll let you speak, but that whole idea too that you've been talking about, and I've been sharing a lot in my communities, is that we really are in kind of the womb space right now, the void, the creation space, and just that to allow all these things that want to be completed, like our stories, like things from the past, our attachments, our the healing process, and even what's going on in the world, like letting go of the distractions of all that and being in this new space, um, and then allowing, yeah, when it is time to unfold and blossom into that new energy. So that felt like an important thing just to say again, but I'll let you see if there's something else.
Yeah, I think that as as things shift and change, remember to walk gently on the earth, to be present with where you are right now, and to love yourself and love those who are close to you and love the earth. Those seem to be the important things on my heart. Slow, connected, presence.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure to spend time with you and share this with others.
You too, Camilla. What will you share with what you have going on?
What
What
I have going on?
have going on in your community?
Okay. Yeah, I have beautiful patron communities, so we meet up and online right now and work with, yeah, the dragons and the trees and the earth, the land, do a lot of journeys, a lot of self-discovery and also sharing and support for some of these things we're going through, right? Having that communities feels really beautiful. And then I'm
Mm.
doing some events. And then I am called also to do some live things. So I'm going to be leading a Corn Mother pilgrimage to Oaxaca, Mexico
Wow.
in March next year.
Wow, beautiful.
So that's really exciting. People want to know about that. They can look at my website. But that feels like kind of what you're saying, that desire to really be doing in-person events. I do miss them, although online's really nice because I can connect with all of you all over the world. But then I think there is that need for us to be more in the physical realms. But yeah, and then the tree openings are moving forward. I'm just listening and being with them um, and learning. Yeah, it's sort of a fun, gentle kind of walk of part of the remembering process, right? Of letting myself soften into their relationships and what they want to teach. And a lot of it's very much about being, right? Just being with them. They don't, like with the sequoia, it wasn't like they had a lot of talk or discussion or that, like messages in that way. It was much more just be here, just be. And I think it's some of that the initiation integration process, right? Like it may look pretty different than what we're used to. It's not all involved in these techniques and processes and stuff. It's just simple being. So I love that. And then mentorship is always such a treat.
What a gift. You share so much wisdom with us in this world and through your online community and your ceremonies. It was, if you haven't worked with Camilla in person, she holds such incredible space and really allows you to connect in deeply. And my experience with you was so beautiful and just honor and love what you're sharing with us and teaching. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Amba. That's really sweet. And so for you, people can reach you on your website. I know you said you're kind of going through some rest time, but they can get on your mailing list or that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I do have for those who live in the East Coast, I have an in-person offering that's starting in January, and it is called the Seven Sacred Trees Apprenticeship, where we work with seven of the ancient trees here upon these lands, and we learn their medicine and their stories, and we make tinctures and baskets and go through what we call the initiation of Sundance with the pine and the oak and the birch and the maple and the willow and the cottonwood and the hemlock. Um,
Mhm.
so that is happening in January. And if you feel like you would like to connect with me in person and go through that initiation, I have that happening. Otherwise, you can reach out to me online at theharmonicgarden.com. I do have a lot of online pre-recorded offerings that are up, and sign up for my mailing list and connect into my community when I come back online again.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's been such a beautiful treat to have you here and
Mm.
really connect with all of the medicine you carry, the beautiful spirit you are. I just really appreciate too your kindness, sweetness. I think that's such beautiful medicine in these time. It seems like, oh yeah, but it's so powerful how kind and sweet that medicine that you carry, as well as the depth of knowledge and openness to all of the realms. So thank you so much. And I'll have your information below for people who want to reach out.
Great. So wonderful to be with you.